You know, you fight a lot of enemies in Hollow Knight Silksong, and the vast majority of them are either haunted, so they're fighting you against their will, or just not sentient animals, so they are fighting you in their will, but they're pretty much just fighting you because it's in their nature to try and protect themselves or hunt you down. And while Hornet is a hunter, I don't know if she feels the best about massacring random haunted bugs who are being puppeted around kind of like the infection did back in her hometown. So I figured, why not try and be a very kind person in this video and see how many enemies we can avoid killing while still being able to beat Hollow Knight Silksong. Now, for the purposes of this video, when I say minimum number of enemies and bosses are two separate things to me. So if I somehow manage to get all the way to Grandmother Silk and beat her to beat this game, and I have killed no normal enemies, but I have killed all the required bosses in this game, then I will have said I have killed no enemies in this game. And I think that's a fair way to quantify this, because obviously you have to kill bosses in this video game to progress. Grandmother Silk exists. It's literally impossible to beat Hollow Knight Silksong without killing at least her. So I'm more interested in seeing the normal enemies that we can skip. Because if you look at your standard playthrough of Hollow Knight Silksong, I'd say people tend to kill hundreds of enemies without even thinking about it. But we're not going to be like that today, dear viewer. We are going to be thoughtful, and we are trying to be as kind as possible. Or at the very least, I don't want Hornet to have more blood on her hands. And if you enjoyed this video and this whole idea behind it, please subscribe to my channel and like it if you like it. Now, let's start at the beginning. So it may not shock all of you dear viewers to learn that the majority of this challenge is not really that complicated. You can pretty much run from area to area while killing nothing. You can come across an enemy and you can jump over them. Amazing stuff. Or, if you want to be even more surprising about it, you can come upon an enemy and hit them without killing them. Shocking, I know. I know I said I wanted to be merciful, but sometimes a little bit of damage is needed. We have to heal ourselves after all. But yeah, we can basically skip all of Moss Grotto like this. And the only thing that's really of any concern that we actually have to kill is Moss Mother. And as for her boss fight, you can pretty much just kill her as you would in a standard playthrough. The only thing that you have to avoid if you want to be not killing enemies is the enemies that she spawns. She spawns what I assume are her children, and they will kind of just scuttle around on the ground. But she only does so after you've hit her into her quote-unquote second phase here, and you can just continue to target her. There's really no concern at all with these enemies. It's the first boss in the game. What am I supposed to say? You will notice that they kind of explode as well as Moss Mother upon killing her, but generally speaking, stuff like that doesn't really count as killing enemies in my mind, because we didn't do anything to kill it. It just exploded because the boss died, and that's not really the spirit of what I'm doing here. So you just get to continue on after Moss Mother, and if we can just dodge all these enemies, there's really barely going to be any challenge in this video, huh? Alright, there's some times where there's unavoidable gauntlets of enemies in this game. And by sometimes, I mean a lot of times. So what do we do here? After immediately saving quitting so that I can avoid killing any enemies, what you can do is you can skip that gauntlet entirely. And whenever we come across a necessary gauntlet, obviously our goal is going to be find a way to skip it. For this one, it's fairly simple. You can bring this flying enemy up here and pogo off of him without killing him. And just by getting up to this platform, we can now unlock Chakra and the entire forward progression path in this game without needing to kill anyone. And hey, because there's no other enemy gauntlets in this entire area, all we have to do to progress is beat Belbeast, the extremely easy fight, who is also a boss and not an enemy, so we've still killed no one. And if we think about it, as long as we can avoid enemy gauntlets, this whole challenge should be a cakewalk, right? And who knows that many enemy gauntlets anyway? Well, I do pass Kilroy, and it turns out one of the most crucial abilities in the game, the ability to dash, is locked behind an enemy gauntlet. And you can't do anything about this but kill these guys. There's a few rare enemy gauntlets where you get help from like Chakra or Garmand. Not here though. Here, this is 100% the only way to dash. So how do you get past this? The only reason that we are trying to get Swift Step, or the ability to dash, is so that we can bypass this area and still have the movement needed. Now we can go down and use a key to get into far fields, but that pathway down also has an enemy gauntlet. Going straight here would be ideal because all that's here is lace, but we can't go up and open this door to lace without Swift Step. So we're in a real conundrum. We don't have enough movement ability even if we get a full thing of silk to get up there with a heal stall. There is a secret way though that would make it possible to get up there without the ability to dash. And that has everything to do with one of the most effective abilities in Hollow Knight and Hollow Knight Silksong, the ability to die. And actually, before I continue with this discussion, did anyone else notice that Team Cherry made this guy hit the Peter Griffin death pose? Team Cherry really did need to spend 7 years on this game just for stuff like that, I swear. So, when you die in Hollow Knight Silksong, you spawn a cocoon that can be pogoed off of. So, if we somehow could manage to kill Hornet in this gap, which normally you would need dash to get over, we can pogo off of her cocoon and get up to the switch without dash. Now, there seems to be nothing that would let Hornet die in this room, and you can't really kill yourself easily in this game. But these rocks that I've been breaking have a tiny chance to spawn a little magma boulder, and we are going to be relying on that fun little Easter egg Team Cherry added into this game to give us the ability to completely cheese through their movement locking gate. If we manage... I should have gotten hit by that there. If we manage to die in this area right here, we will be able to get up there without dashing, and I'm going to show you how that looks when I don't fail at it. It's pretty much exactly what I did before. You can die almost anywhere in this area, and your cocoon will be in the right place. This, for instance, is the right place. Now, it may spawn the cocoon in an area that looks like you can't get up there with it, but really, you can, and it's not even that hard. It's as simple as that. And now that we've gotten up here, all that we have left to do is hit that switch, and we can progress through the game with no ability to dash. Now, that may seem to be a severe problem, but we are going to try and remedy it by beating Lace up real quick and getting the Drifter's Cloak. At least that will give us some horizontal movement while we have no ability to dash on our person and never will in the future. And, well, beating up Lace even without the ability to dash is extremely trivial, especially for someone who's been playing this game as long as I have at this point. You can pretty much walk out of most of her attacks, which is funny, because you'd think she would be a good tutorial for the dash ability. But nah, she's perfectly fine to dodge with no ability to dash. And now that we've beaten Lace, it should just be smooth sailing. We've got one area to go through to get the ability that will let us replace the dash in our minds forever. And once we've replaced the dash, we should never need to think about it again. Guys, I think we need to think about dash again. Or, what if we go back to our old tried and true method of solving problems? Death. Death should solve this problem, don't you think, dear viewer? It solves the problem extremely easily. All you gotta do is pogo once, and heal stall, and you're off in far fields. And now that we're in far fields, I think I should mention how I'm going to get the Drifter's Cloak without killing anything. Because on a normal playthrough, I think most people just kill a bunch of Hokers to get their spines and bring them back to the Seamstress. But the thing is, you don't have to kill the Hokers to get their spines at all. Simply giving them a nice tap will do the same thing. And since we are not against violence in all forms, we are only against killing of enemies, we are perfectly fine to just beat these enemies until they give us their cores. And we are not going to run out of enemies because we can leave the screen and reset their entire HP bar. In fact, there is a convenient screen we can open right to the right here. And I'm going to reset my save file now, so that didn't happen. Hey look, you can open this door without killing enemies. Amazing, isn't it? But yeah, simply by coming back to the screen you were on before, you can repeat the hitting process over and over and over until you get the spines you need to get the Drifter's Cloak from the Seamstress. And now that we have this Drifter's Cloak from the very intimidating Seamstress, who I don't understand why her cutscene is that intense, we've pretty much solved the problem of skipping Swift Step, at least in terms of progression. Without having Dash or Drifter's Cloak, we get stopped extremely soon trying to go anywhere in this game. But with just the Drifter's Cloak, we pretty much are fine to make it through the entirety of the game and beat Silksong without ever picking up the ability to dash, which is incredible. And what's more incredible is that we can use this new ability to float to take down this weird monster who's nothing like the precious enemies whose lives I care about deeply. No, not only is this an automaton, but it instantly attacked us, and it has a boss health bar and name. Therefore, it can die. And now that I've finished everything I need to do in Far Fields, I go to Greymoor, and I figured coming into this area that it might finally be an area that poses no problems whatsoever for this challenge run. And then I forgot that right after halfway home, when you have only one area that you can go without Cling Grip, you are faced with an enemy gauntlet that's completely unavoidable if you are trying to beat this area starting from Far Fields. So you know what I decided? I decided I'm not going to beat this area starting from Far Fields. I'm going to go pick up all the rosary beads available to me that I can get without killing, because killing is a big no-no in a minimum enemies killed run. I'm going to Peb, my good old friend, who has a simple key for 500 rosary beads, which I could get enough of. I take that key to the Wormways, where I revel in the fact that I can finally farm silk without worrying about killing these guys, because I can't kill them with my needle this week. Then, after beating the Wormways, I do the classic Garama skip, which I'm not going to explain heavily. You can see what's going on the screen. I take this enemy over, and that means I can avoid Sister Splinter, who would be a disaster for this run with the amount of enemies she summons. I can immediately pick up Cling Grip, then I can go beat Widow. It is amazing how fast things go when you don't have to worry about killing enemies, and your sole goal is to just make progress in this game. It is difficult in some ways because you can't heal much in between areas, but if you just don't get hit, you don't have to worry about getting healed. So while I tried going through Greymoor the traditional way, it doesn't matter that it didn't work, because I just freed Bellheart by killing no enemies. And now that we freed Bellheart, we can see that this enemy gauntlet has also been skipped. We no longer needed to access any of Greymoor, and the most important part of Greymoor we need to access is this area right here with Garmand. Because not only are we trying to save our enemies, we are trying to make friends in this run. This is the run where Hornet is a good person and everyone appreciates that about her. But more than just being appreciated for being a good person, it is crucial we talk to Garmand here, because doing so unlocks the capability for Garmand to help Hornet during the High Halls Arena, one of the most brutal combat sections of this game. And if you allow someone like Garmand to come in and help you, Garmand can do all the killing for us, and you can wipe your hands clean of all the bloodshed because you have not killed anyone. At least that's my mindset behind it. And after talking to Garmand, we can go to Sinner's Road. Once again, we have killed no enemies in the game, and you will be very happy to learn, dear viewer, that you can go through all of Sinner's Road without killing any enemies either. There's no gauntlets, no force encounters. We can go straight on to the Mist, where we perform a private concert for our adoring fans, and they will give us directions to the boss of this place, Phantom. And while we are still abiding by our rules to not kill any enemies, doing so has lost us the ability to dash. And I started to learn, while doing this Phantom fight, that that is a very bad thing. I didn't take damage there because of my lack of ability to dash. That was just me being bad at the video game. The problems become clear in this attempt. Most of Phantom's abilities are very simple to dodge with just good positioning and, being situationally aware. Even her parry is really easy to dodge. I like hitting into her parry a lot of the time because it gives you a free opportunity to hit her on the back end of it. And everything else is pretty much just standard affair for Silksong combat. Everything else except for her massive steam dive ability. You see, That ability 100% expects you to have dash to dodge away from it. And if you don't, and you're caught on the wrong end of it, you're pretty trapped. Unless you did what I just did and you pogo at the exact right time. Yes, you can pogo invincibility frame your way through Phantom's dive attack. You can also get out of it if you were lucky enough to be at the end of it when she starts it. But the problem is, it is somewhat a factor of luck to be able to walk out of that attack. You can dive out of it and that will give you the most distance when you have no ability to dash. But even if you get the perfect dive and the fastest run out to right or left, sometimes she just starts the dive in a position where you can't get out of it. And that becomes very, very bad once you get to this phase and she spams the ability. That pogo, I love doing it. It's so much fun to pogo off of her, but it is not consistent. And when you have no ability to dash, it becomes a problem. All that is to say, it is hard to save as many people as I am trying to. But we do not do things because they are easy. We do them because they are hard. And I am not doing this run to have a cakewalk. I am doing it to see how few enemies we can kill, how many lives we can save in the pursuit of beating this video game and ousting Grandmother Silk. That is why I do what I do. And that is why I grinded attempts until I got one where I did not die to this spam of attacks, and I was able to continue not dying through the rest of the fight, which is not that much. From what I was doing here, it really seemed like Phantom's HP is more than halfway gone when she starts that second phase of diving attacks. I don't know if that's true. I do not care. I don't want the answer in the comment section. All of this is to say, I succeeded at beating Phantom dashless, and it was a far greater challenge than I ever could have thought, but it was worth it. It was exhilarating. I honed skills that I will never need to use again when it comes to dodging that attack from Phantom, that organ of steam, and those skills brought me to victory. Even though it looks like I'm close to death, stuff like that, that is a moment, and that is a moment right there where I was hype as heck. And coming off of that, it only took something like 1 minute after getting to phase 2 and surviving to take down Phantom for good. And now that we've taken down Phantom, we have officially made it with our first kill in our journal, because we have killed no enemies before it. We have made it to Act 2 in Hollow Knight Silksong while killing no enemies. And at this point, I was ecstatic that this was even possible. You can beat the first half of the game, probably the more complicated half of the game, without letting a single enemy die to Hornet's Needle. Act 2 begins the same way it does in most playthroughs. You get the cutscene, we come down and get greeted by Lace, and fortunately for us, we don't have to kill any of the enemies she summons. We can just run all the way to the Cogwork Dancers without killing a single soul. There is nothing particularly special about the Cogwork Dancers in this run. I would never say that about them in general, because they are one of my favorite bosses in this game. However, even though they are two, they are still a boss and not a pair of enemies. That is why I'd feel less remorse for killing them than I do in a standard playthrough. Bosses are fully available to be killed. It's enemies we must be sparing. And it is with a heavy heart that I acknowledge that fact, because as I got to this point in my playthrough, I realized you have 3 goals left before you can go to beat the game, and that is to get the 3 melodies. One of those melodies is locked in the Whispering Vaults, and this enemy right here indicates an arena that is the only possible way to enter the Whispering Vaults through. Yes, you have to get the Vault Keeper's melody to continue this game, and every other path into the vaults is either locked behind a shortcut or just impassable without using some kind of out of bounds cheat. Once we get into this room, we find that this slidable block could give us access if we somehow get to the other side, but we cannot do that without major glitches. And even though I haven't said so explicitly, I'm not using major glitches in this video. If I did, I could just clip out of bounds and immediately fly to Grandmother Silk, and what would be the point of that kind of challenge? That's like breaking the game open to save everything, but there's no challenge, there's no nuance, there's nothing interesting about it. So, because I am not using major glitches, I am incredibly sorrowful to have to say that we have to complete this enemy gauntlet. And because I am keeping track of the minimum enemies to beat this game, I am going to memorialize every life we take here. We've already taken 2, and very sadly, this is one of the largest gauntlets in this game, 3. So we will not be done counting for a good bit of time. It's such a shame too, because every time I kill them, you see the new entry spawn, because this is new. We've not killed anyone in this playthrough until now, and now we've killed 6 enemies. Enemies inflicted by the Haunting, who have been taken over and have no will of their own to be attacking Hornet like this. And it's worse too, because when faced with gauntlets before, we're normally presented alternate paths to go. But it really does seem like when Act 2 started, Team Cherry kind of started to close down the openness of the game in such a way to give you a much more guided experience in the Citadel. And while that's fun in its own way, it is bad for a run like this where we're trying to save lives. We have now killed 13 enemies. In a span of seconds, we have gone from not killing any enemies in this game to killing 13, and now we have killed 14. I will put all of the enemies we have just killed on screen. They are remembered. We will remember their sacrifice, and we will remember that we were not able to save them. We had to kill them in order to get to the Whispering Vaults and to push this stupid block. But even though we had to do that, at least it is now over, and we have entered the Whispering Vaults where we will not need to kill any more enemies to go and fight Trobio. Fighting Trobio is nice. It's always good to get a little bit of levity after the very sad occurrence we just had to go through. And now that we have beaten Trobio, not only do we unlock the melody from the Vault Keepers, but we can also go get Clawline very easily. Now, we could have gotten Clawline through White Ward as well, but it's pretty simple to just go the main story way, because we do have to go through Trobio, even if we don't want to get Clawline through him. And Clawline is absolutely necessary to even get the other 2 melodies. So, whatever happens with Clawline, we have to get it. And that's a very sad thing to say as well, dear viewer. There's absolutely no problems with getting the Clawline itself. No one has to die, no moral dilemmas, no extremely hard challenges that would get us around any such dilemmas. And I figured that that was going to be the way for the entire process of getting the Clawline. But I made a mistake, and I forgot something. The first thing I forgot is that this game expects you to Clawline off of living beings to make progress. Well, of course, I don't abide by those rules, so I just avoided killing enemies, and found that it was very easy to do so, until I came across this singular ring. This ring, when pulled, activates a gauntlet, and at the end of that gauntlet, it opens up a door that lets you get out of this room of lava and enemies. That way out is the only way out of this room. This is the door I entered this room through. It is now locked. There is no other exit except the exit beyond that enemy gauntlet. I figured I'd rather die than play by those rules, killing enemies. But even though I did die, it did not solve my problem. The game sets a save when you pick up the Clawline. That means not only do I need the Clawline to progress, once I get the Clawline, it is physically impossible to leave this room and get anywhere else in Farloom without killing enemies. So, after immediately having to kill enemies to get into the Whispering Vaults, I am once again forced to kill haunted individuals to progress and to go anywhere in the world. And even worse, There is nothing worse than killing the poor, mistreated laborers of the underworks. Them who are haunted and are still forced to do their work for all of eternity, for the promise of no pay. At the very least, these enemies that carry the bombs, it does not count as killing them if you do not hit them at all. I noticed the Hunter Journal does not add them unless you physically attack them with your needle, so they are not enemies that I have killed and they will not be added to the total count, but everyone else in this room will be. And already, that's been 4 enemies. It will end up being far less than the enemies outside of the vaults, but 1 enemy killed is already too many for what I'm trying to do, dear viewer. And like I said, it is nice to see that these enemies explode. Just because they're automatons, by the way, doesn't mean they don't count as enemies. If the game counted me as killing them by dodging them, I would include them as well. But it doesn't, and they explode on their own will, so I don't think that we've done anything to add them to our ranks. So as things stand, this little gauntlet adds an additional 5 enemies to our memorial. They will be memorialized on the screen, and we will proceed with our hearts low, but our hopes high to never kill again. And we do not hope for no reason. We can immediately grab the sacred cylinder without having to face a single soul. And now that we have it, we can immediately learn the melody that we will need in order to beat Hollow Knight Silksong. And now that we've gotten this is by far the most difficult melody to get. We should be able to get the other melodies with minimal to no casualties for all the enemies around us. The bosses, Lace and Grandmother Silk, those 2 are going down. And at the very least we know Lace doesn't die, so realistically it's just Grandmother Silk. And now that we've gotten all we can out of the vault, we can also come over here. And this is why we talked to Garmond earlier. As you see, Garmond is ruthless. He is not like us. He is very ready to take down enemies. And if we battle him here and win in our sparring battle, he will come with us to High Halls to kill enemies on our behalf. Now, it is not necessarily, he's not the strongest bug in the game, shall we say. We are definitely a lot stronger than him, which will be a problem later in the High Halls. But for right now, it's fine. I've never actually dueled with Garmond before, so it's very entertaining seeing this. I can definitely say I fought with Chakra. She is so much harder than Garmond, and the fact that you can consistently just knock him off the edge into the spikes is very, very funny. But yeah, this fight is a very good representation of how Garmond will fight for you when you are in the High Halls. I believe all of his moveset in the High Halls is represented here. His jump, his standing still slash. I just played songs because I like hearing him sing. And in case you didn't notice, Garmond is not haunted. No strings come down upon him. He just decides to sing because he likes to sing with you. He's a great guy. He's not the strongest NPC in this game, but there's a reason everyone loves him and is so sad about what happens in Act 3. But we don't have to worry about Act 3 in this video. This video is all about beating the game in any way possible. And if we tried to go all the way to Act 3, we are sadly going to be forced to kill a lot more creatures. Also, Garmond seemingly can kill you even after you've won, which is very funny. But yes, now that we have successfully dueled with Garmond and Zaza, I'm sorry I do not mention Zaza, I always say Garmond. Zaza is a crucial part of this whole troop. But now that we've become closer friends with them, they will help us in the High Halls. And before we leave to that immense struggle, let's let us sing for a bit. Thank you, sirs. All of High Halls is doable without killing anyone, but sadly the same can't be said for the High Halls arena. I have invited Garmond to help us, but he and Chakra both do not join the fight until you've killed the first 3 enemies. So, we have 3 final deaths on our hands in this run, and these will be the last ones if we manage to do the entire arena after this, with Garmond getting the killing blows. And I will say, dear viewer, I am 100% helping Garmond. I learned very heavily the exact amount of damage I deal before I can kill these enemies, because if I do not deal this damage, I do not have the ability to heal beyond 1 or 2 spools of silk. I can never get overdosed on Plasmium, because needing to get the Architect Crest to overdose means a lot more required kills for enemies, whether that's for quests or for areas to reach that are behind gauntlets. So, what I did for probably close to 5 hours is I attempted this gauntlet over and over again, resetting every time I accidentally killed an enemy and Garmon didn't. And a lot of that came down to resetting over people like these Maestros. Garmon can only hit airborne enemies with 1 of his 3 attacks. If he does not do them, then he cannot get the kill. He got the kill in this footage, because this is the rare time I'm going to show you where I did it successfully. All my other fails were either due to me killing someone accidentally, or to me dying because I could not heal while trying to dodge forever. And not having the ability to dash as well, if you remember from earlier in this video viewer, made this all the worse. I am not going to show you the 5 hours worth of footage. I'm only going to show you the most important bits. The Maestros, the beginning, and the worst bit of all, the Grand Cloisters. I forget these enemies' names, but they're horrible. They don't deserve to be remembered. I would not kill them, as is the point of this video, but I am very, very upset that they are so terrible. You see, without the ability to dash, dodging them is awful. The game really expects you to either kill them before they kill you, or have more movement abilities. And even with no movement abilities, if you have the Ascendant's Grip, you can go on one of these walls and get into a safe spot where they can never hit you. And I really wanted to try that in this playthrough here, viewer, but the Ascendant's Grip is sold by Juliana, and she can only be unlocked by saving her from enemies, aka killing enemies around her. So I cannot do that in this run. So I have no ability to stay safe. When you jump against the wall, you're not fully safe. And I can't dash against the wall because I cannot dash. So instead, witness this sped up culmination of hours and hours of attempts, where Garmon finally lands the killing blow on this enemy. A true hero by my side till the end. You were with me for all the hours of attempts, Garmon. This was all possible because of you, and only because of you. Because, in case anyone was wondering, I cannot get Chakra. Many of her maps are behind areas. For example, Hunter's March has an arena that she takes part in, but she doesn't take part in it until I kill some of the initial enemies. So I could never get all of her maps and bring her to this arena. It could have only ever been Garmon. And because of Garmon, I have found every single source of progression I need to beat Hollow Knight Silksong. I can go to Balador and get the second melody, and the third melody, the Architect's Melody, is only ever a platforming challenge, which requires absolutely no enemies killed whatsoever. So I can stay here with my head held high, knowing I did my absolute most to kill the absolute minimum enemies in Hollow Knight Silksong. And that's a good feeling, you know? It's good to know that I think I've reached the absolute least amount of enemies killed in this playthrough. And before going to get the Architect's Melody and beat the game, I saw this cute interaction with Garmon and Zaza. Look sharp, my lad. The closest of friends who are so happy with singing that they sing even in their sleep. And the second I stop, they fall right back into slumber. Incredible stuff. But now, I don't know if I really even need to say much more about the Architect's Melody. You get up there very easily while facing no enemies. You get a very cool cutscene where you learn the melody, and now that we've learned it, the absolute least impactful melody that took almost no effort compared to the other two, we can just go over, bring the melody to the statues, and then go absolutely demolish Lace in about half a second. And now that we've done that, we can take down the source of the haunting in Farloon and beat Hollow Knight Silksong. And we beat Hollow Knight Silksong with 22 enemies killed. It is a far greater number than I was hoping for when I first started this challenge. However, I think when you put it in comparison with the standard playthrough, the hundreds and hundreds of enemies normally killed, then I believe that it becomes a better figure with that in mind. And more than that, I would be extremely happy to be proven wrong about 22 being the minimum number. Now remember, I'm doing this glitchless, so if you want to try this challenge and improve it to find more enemies that can be avoided, then doing it glitchless, 22 is the record I was able to hit. Thank you all so much for watching this video. I hope it was enjoyable. It was a lot of work, a lot of theory crafting, a lot of workshopping, and a lot of actual gameplay struggles when it came to the high halls with Garmond and Zaza. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Have a good day, everyone.